30 for yourself, Mayor, and then please go.
Don't use your fingers.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Fort Mitchell City Council. I'm Mayor Jude Heeman, and today is June the 1st, 2020, and we're here with our City Council. And in order to do a roll call, I'll just make sure that everybody is acknowledging and can hear me. Mr. Dethridge, you're up first.
Here.
And you're Mr. McVeigh,
Here.
Mr. Steckel.
Here.
All right, Ms. Knockhazel.
Here.
All right, Mr. Polgears.
Here.
Ms. Berger.
Here.
And I just saw somebody come on. Is that Mary?
I
Mary?
am.
All right, you're present.
Wait a minute. I'm on, but I don't have any visual.
That's okay. If you're all right, just listening, then we're okay with that.
Okay, that's what we'll do.
All right. So we have a quorum, Amy, if that's all right. To start the meeting, I would like to, before we approve the agenda, just like to ask for, after the approval, that we kind of have a moment of reflection be added to the agenda. If I could have that with that motion.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Dethridge.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Polgears, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Mr. Dethridge, would you take us into that?
Sure. Yeah. And as everyone knows, there's a lot of social unrest right now in our community, both locally and nationally. And I personally, and I think everybody on the council would like to recognize those peacekeepers, both the protesters and the professional law enforcement officers that are out trying to make a difference. As a city, as a citizen of the city of Fort Mitchell, I also hope that we continue to recognize the right to assemble and the right of free speech peacefully. We recognize those professionals who's placing themselves in harm's way to make peace without violence. I believe that the majority of both groups are working for a peaceful resolution and for a better country in America. Each of us, I think, need to dig a little bit deeper within ourselves to make our communities better. I think with everything we've faced this year, the unrest that we're facing right now is much more than social distancing. It's much more than wearing a mask and much more than washing our hands. And I think I ask that each of us reflect a little bit on the unrest and commit to being better citizens, both of understanding the situation and also for peaceful resolutions as we move forward. At that moment, I'd just like to ask for a moment of silence for reflection and prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Dethridge.
Very well said, Jerry.
Thank you. Council, you've approved the agenda. We have the minutes from the May 18th, 2020. Is there any corrections to those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Polgears,
Second.
second, Mr. Steckel, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Sherberg, anybody reach out to us with citizens or guests?
We did not have any questions or comments.
All right. We're going to move on to the budget message. So council, tonight you've received the copies of the budget, and by law I'm asked to give a budget message. And in a summary, I'm going to giving you a budget message for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. While COVID-19 has brought challenges, our city is committed to maintain a diverse revenue stream of a healthy fund balance, which positions our city of Fort Mitchell to weather the ongoing financial uncertainty. This year's budget is focused mostly on essentials. Outlined in our plan is road plans to keep our city streets well maintained, reassuring and assuring the police departments are adequately staffed and trained when we need them, and funding for the administration team because they are our backbone of our city. We have the opportunity to make a significant investment in Ormsby Mitchell Park, which we will discuss at length tonight, to make the park accessible for all users. Under the general fund, the revenue, the budget that you have in front of you, the overall general fund budget is going to remain flat. The business revenues are budgeted to decrease 10% due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This decrease in revenue is offset by the following: $200,000 in renegotiating the contracts that I did with Lakeside Park and Crestview Hills to provide EMS and fire services. $300,000 will be received from the new utility franchise, and $300,000 is being suspended transfer of the road fund. And I think that's really important because that is not a normal for this city, but it doesn't mean that we don't have quite a bit of projects. We believe that we can do that all within the road tax budget. The general under expenses, the general fund expense increase less than 1% in total. Employee raises to maintain current staffing levels and help employee compensation be more competitive levels. Health insurance premium tax increased by 5%. Electric bill budget increased by 10% based upon Duke Energy's rate increases. The municipal road aid fund, $105,000 is budgeted still for the Bromley Crescent Springs Road. This is something that's been budgeted. I think this is the 5th year or 4th year for this. Between the state and the county, they have not done anything, but this has continued to be in the budget. $15,000 is going towards a Beechwood Road safety project that Ms. Knockhazel that you head up, and $20,000 is for the Beechwood Road Grandview Fort Mitchell Place sidewalks. And maybe we could do portions of that as we go in. We've also applied for the grants. The park tax fund, the Ormsby Mitchell Park, based upon residential feedback, will continue to move on with improvements and the additional parking and realigning the baseball fields and construction of the new pavilion. The road tax fund, the budget includes resurfacing of Highland Avenue, Oak, Coleman, Virginia, Royal, Anthony Lane, reconstruction of West Orchard, Ridge, Watch Hill, Grace Avenue, DeVue Court entrance, Anna Joe Lane, and Dixie Highway curbs. And as again, you see that even though we're not transferring that, we do have adequate monies in for the road tax, and we will continue to do that. The city will continue to reserve funds of a study plan for Buttermilk Orphanage realignment that is led by the state. The capital fund replacement of this budget includes sidewalk repairs, HVAC systems, windows, and public works fencing around the city building. It also includes improvements to the firefighter dorms, made even more important for the separation during a pandemic such as COVID-19. It includes police vehicles, fire truck, ambulance, and turnout gear for our firefighters. In conclusion, as a city, we provide the services that are the highest quality and making Fort Mitchell one of the most desirable places to live in Kentucky. I'm presenting this fiscally responsible budget that allows us to strengthen our community throughout targeted investments and continuing the momentum. And that's really important for me, is making sure that we continue what we started. Thank you for considering my budget, and I look forward to discussing that with you tonight. So that is my mayor's budget message. And we have the city attorney's report. We have 3 readings. All readings are first readings tonight, and so nothing will be voted upon. Claire?
All right. First, we have ordinance 2020-02, and that is an ordinance amending ordinance 2018-11 of the City of Fort Mitchell Code of Ordinances to add an employee position and related annual and hourly salary ranges and adjust the hourly salary range for a position to the personnel and pay classification plan, and directing this ordinance be published by summary.
So Andrew, we blended some titles and different things, and let's just take that over real quick with them because there was one on the officer, there was a typo. Under the officer, if you look, it says 20 to 2750, but the one, the specialist right above that is 25 to 33. I think that was supposed to be 20 to 33 to keep those in line. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Does everybody see that? Again, under the
Police
police officer position, but then let's talk about the blended, some of the names here.
Yes, on the fourth line down, you'll see the title Assistant City Clerk Treasurer. That was one that Amy had asked for changing Casey's title from Deputy City Clerk to Assistant City Clerk Treasurer to more accurately reflect that she's really doing a balance of both tasks in her job. We added under the fire department, you'll see a recruitment and retention coordinator. And that was added in the event that we received the recruitment and retention coordinator grant that Adam applied for. The police cadet, which is a line item in the part-time employee line item in the police budget for next year. So although you see the number that's there is 2, budget-wise, we've only budgeted funding for one cadet. And then the last thing is we did change the recreation and communication position was programming and communication coordinator. And we changed that to program manager since it is considered a department head. We felt that that title more accurately reflected the job.
Council, that's the first reading. Is there any questions on that? Okay.
Yeah, Mayor, I have one question. How exactly are the increases computed? Is that just based on cost of living, or how exactly is it done?
So we did a mix of both. So some of it is cost of living. And so we look at it from a 2-year perspective. So we want this to be a 2-year document. The other is comparisons to other neighboring agencies. So using the area development district salary survey, some other independent salary surveys that different agencies have done, and trying to put competitive ranges in place for the population.
Is that okay?
Mhm.
All right, any other questions? All right, Claire?
Okay, so we have, the next one is ordinance 2020-03. And this is an ordinance of the city of Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, amending the annual budget of the city for the fiscal year July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, and directing this ordinance to be published by summary.
Amy, do you want to drive here, or your Andrew? The big thing is, I think there's some things that we're not going to get in this fiscal year, and they kind of pushed out. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, all changes for the amended and the budget for next year are all in the capital replacement fund on the last few pages. And they are shaded. So we did have a little accident with the fire garage door, so we had to add that in for this year. And then the other thing was, let's see, the HVAC for the police, we're not going to get in this year. So that's there. See what else? Radio install. We don't know if we're going to get to that for the fire department and the police. And then the public works radios also got moved to next year.
Again, it's pushed to the next year, so. Any questions with that? Concerns? Claire, you're up again.
Okay, so we have ordinance 2020-04, an ordinance of the city of Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, adopting an annual budget for the fiscal year July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 by estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of the city, directing this ordinance to be published by summary.
And Amy, once again, everything that we did in our budget session that is now, I think it's highlighted in gray, that where we took it from this year and pushed it to next year.
Right. There's a few extra things. The fire bay roof and the roof over the police hallway needs to be replaced. That was never done when we did the new building. And there's some lining gutters of the old building that need to be replaced. So that's in the building line item.
Yeah, and so the building's now 6 years old, and it's hard to, but we're now catching up on the police HVAC that never was done, from the new building. Now all the roof, it's really the flat roof, the membrane roofs are all within an age that they need to be replaced. We're starting to get it, wear and tear, and then tuck pointing around the chimneys and such. So that's all in this budget.
Yes. Our estimate came in higher for the police HVAC system than what we had budgeted. So we did increase that. And then there was some public works office furniture that we didn't have in there.
Adam, did we catch everything that you know of with the hose tower and things that are leaking over there?
Yeah, that pretty much covers everything that's going on.
Okay. Any questions? This is the first reading. Okay. All right. Thank you, Claire. So under the mayor's report, I have a couple of things, and so I might as well introduce Joe Christofield. He's on the line with us. So Joe, when I met Joe for the first time, was back when he worked at Kroger's, and he was going to high school and then college. And then Joe used to cover, I was a young city council member with hair, and he used to cover our meetings, and he was a reporter for the Kenton County Recorder. And Joe, you went to do, you were a city clerk for Florence for 14 years.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so for 14 years, so he's a certified city clerk. And then you went there to Erlanger. You got a bachelor's degree in communications, and you kind of started to do a little bit of their social media and event plannings and some different things like that. So Joe reached out. He was one of the people that applied for this position, and he lives in the city. His kids go to school within the city. And so I just wanted to introduce Joe. And if you want to say a couple things and just welcome you to our team.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be working here in the city of Fort Mitchell, a place I've lived since 2002 with my family. So it's an honor to work here. And my first day was today, and going to move forward.
So Joe's, we did cancel the parade, as you know. That would be a big responsibility of Joe's, but he's going to come in, and over the next couple months, I asked him to reach out to each member of his council. I really want to continue to do like a section, with council involved, and getting that out to the public as we do our monthly posts, and updates, and then even with the businesses and stuff. So if you have some ideas and stuff, please be ready, because Joe's going to be calling you the next 2 weeks and really sitting down and getting some ideas from you. So, all right. So welcome, Joe.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard, Joe.
Thank you.
So the next thing is really in-person meetings. There's some other council in Northern Kentucky and throughout the state that are starting to meet. I know we talked about this the last time and said that it'd be hard to follow the guidelines of the governor and meet if we're right here over 10 already. If no one has objections by the first meeting in July, we would have our meetings being public and being back in the council chambers, unless somebody wants. So we do have one more meeting in June. So
I think that sounds good.
is that okay?
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
Okay. And then the last thing I have is just, you saw Fort Mitchell posted about Jack Riley. He was the Fort Mitchell barber up at the end of the line, and he had been sick with some cancer for quite a while, and he passed away. And the reason I say something is he worked in this city for over 40 years and knew this community quite well. So just wanted to say something about Jack. So and he lost his son years ago, so he's reunited with him. That's all I have for under the mayor's report. Andrew, city administration.
Couple of small things, or smaller things first, I guess. Number one is, and I think I've updated everyone in the emails that I've sent. We've had 3 restaurants that have requested permission from the city to increase their outdoor dining capacity. We had Beale Street, Campo Rosso, and Public House. Public House is actually not doing seating, they're just stand-up tables out there. Greyhound has also reached out, asking some questions and doing some preliminary kicking around of ideas. So, we've had at least 3 now that have taken advantage of the executive order. We applied for CARES Act grant money, and I apologize, I was dealing with a law enforcement situation. So Mayor, I'm not sure if you went in depth on that on the budget message, but we did. So that the CARES Act is the federal money that was out for cities to apply for. We don't know, there's no real guaranteed amount on that. But there was a broad range of expenses that we were able to put in for in that grant. And so we did put in for everything that we thought possibly fell under that grant. And I don't know that we have a timeline on that decision, but it has been submitted. The last thing is to talk about the park renovation, which is it's kind of, we'll kind of jump into Kyle's report, I guess, a little bit early by doing that. But the park board met last month. They're scheduled to meet again tomorrow. And they have made some plans. And so I think what would be best is maybe to talk about, if Kyle could give us an update on sort of where the renovation stands. And then I want to come back and talk about, in the past, we have discussed the idea of loaning money to the park. And there was an ask from the park board to look at possibly doing a combination of a loan and a gift, a grant, however you want to refer to it, but that essentially that they would ask to only have to pay back some of the money given to them to help with the budget. But first I wanted you to hear what their plan is and how they plan to move forward. So Kyle, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, as you guys are well aware, about 6 months ago when we put this out to bid, it came in as 1.6 million. So it was over about $600,000 over budget. So what we went ahead and did was we took some things out of that budgeted amount. We met with Baron Becker, me and Jeff Eplin, who's on the park board, went through some things, and we've got that whittled down to around $1 million project. Also with that, we were able to find out that this is a good time for us to put a bid out. So we actually have a timeline where we could, on June 22nd, advertise for bids, and by July 10th, open for bids. And beginning to the mid of August, we could actually start to work on the park. Our thinking, for the most part, is the park's not going to be the same park that we've had for the last 15, 16 years that we've been a part of. What you're looking at, for the most part, is, the playground. You might have that in July if you listen to the governor. We have no tables up there right now. We have no pavilion reservations right now. The park, other than people going up there and just really walking around, it's not being used anyway. And there's a good chance the next couple of months, nothing's going to change. So it's a good time for us to get up there and maybe do this work now. It's a very competitive bidding situation for these companies that we might be able to get a bid in that will be favorable to us, unlike the last time we bid this out. And all the things that we're taking out of the bid, the original bid, we're actually going to put those in as additional items so we can see what the cost would be if we would, again, such as a maintenance building. We got rid of it. It was $200,000, and we can use the actual new pavilion for that. But we're going to put that as an additional item. We have some tennis courts renovations that we're going to put as an additional item to bid out to kind of make that a better, more fluid type situation.
Yes, so council and I went to the park board meeting. We had it on Zoom, and I kind of suggested some of those that you do add alternates, you try to drive that down. I think the biggest question or ask here is in years past when they did a minor, I'll say a minor renovation, that they did updated their equipment or anything else, they were able to borrow money from us and interest free and be able to pay some of that back. When the land was bought for the park and everything else, it obviously used with taxpayers' money. It was established with a tax with a taxing by council through an ordinance that that tax is just for the park. What I fear is after we've gone through this is that because they're ongoing maintenance and everything else, that they may never be able to somewhat catch up until and I've challenged the park board that they start charging enough for those rentals to offset maintenance costs and ongoing things. So they have a plan moving forward. So one of the asks is because it's public dollars, would council consider, right now we have in the budget, Amy, 500,000.
Right.
And so the 500,000 is pledged to them, and then we would basically get in writing that they would pay us back over a certain amount or a certain time. What the new ask is would we consider pledging a portion of that they would not, because it's being used for general public and it is for the park, would we consider allowing and giving the park board a certain amount and then either giving them charging them an interest or just allowing them to pay it back, or actually interest rates are low, would we can even allow them to shop that as a loan.
I like to also add on the reservations, we would actually make any community member maybe like a $50 to $75 rental fee, to where anybody outside the area, that would be a double, maybe 100 to 150 type fee. And if you look at all the other areas, Boone County, Kenton County, Fort Thomas, all those other parks, they charge over $100, and we're free. I mean, if you're in city, you're free, and if you're not, you're paying $35. That's it.
And then
And
that's
just
where
if we recoup the money for just my guys cleaning it up at night and in the morning, or setting it up beforehand, even if you're just covering those costs, that's a good thing. And also, I like to point out, when we redid the playground system about, I want to say it was like 8 to 9 years ago, when we did that, we took a loan out from the city, the exact same thing. It was about $170,000, and we were supposed to pay that back in a 10-year period. We paid it back in 3. I'm pretty sure with our budget, we could probably pay you guys back around $30,000 to $40,000 each year, whatever we take out. So if it's a $400,000 loan, possibly in 10 years, we pay you $40,000 a year, we could pay that back off.
Kyle, you have a good credit rating as far as I'm concerned with the city.
There you go. Good.
I do want to ask one question, Kyle. On the tennis courts, so many people are now playing pickleball. Are you going to put the double lines for pickleball and tennis?
Oh, if we renovate once we resurface them, is that your asking?
Okay. Yeah, right. Once you resurface them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure that yes, we will, but we'll probably do that just like we did last time. We'll probably do it's cheaper for me if we put down the pickleball lines like we did last time. It's just cheaper. And easier. But it would be surface and tennis, and we just do our own lines, and they're perfect. I mean, if you look at them, they're professionally done almost. I mean, we've done them. I've done them other places also. So we will definitely, at least on the 2 courts that are together, maybe not the third one, but the 2 ones together, without a doubt.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Vicki, you had made a mention to me today about the tennis courts. Do you want to ask that? Because that surprised me.
Oh, someone has informed me that we've got some residents that will take down the tennis net on one of the courts and
Yes,
then let their dogs run in there and use it like a little mini dog park.
actually, every morning, both those tennis courts are used in that way until we get there and run those people off. Usually before they go to work, they put them out there, go take their shower, come back, and we have dogs in those areas. Yes, ma'am. Now, I've not seen them take down the net. We have a netting issue right now on the single court. Someone, when the courts were down, broke the actual mechanism to tighten it, to keep it locked.
Okay.
And so the singles nets right now is down. It's actually at the city building. We're waiting for a new bracket to put on so we can exchange that out from BSN Sports, but we're waiting for that to go up. But someone did, they just jimmied it. It looked like they tried to put their own net up or try to do something with it, and they broke the pin to lock it when you crank it up. That makes sense. It won't lock right now. At least it locks, but as soon as it gets hit a couple times or gets hit with a good serve, it pops. So we have to replace that. It's about $125.
Okay, well, how can we remedy the dog issue? Any suggestions?
No, ma'am, but if you can think of something, I will do it because we're cleaning up a lot of stuff in there that I'd rather not clean up.
Right.
Do we know what time? Is that something that's happening regularly?
Yes, they closed those, they just closed the gates and they just use it as a dog pen is what it amounts to.
Okay. About, is it, you
It's
said
usually always in the morning
usually?
before work. In the morning before work, between 6 and 8.
Okay. I'll have the officers keep an extra eye out.
And there's like I actually they live right across the one group that I know. They live right across in the bottom basement. They just bring them right out, put them in there, and we walk in on them.
So, Council, I'm not looking for a decision, but where I need guidance, in this budget, you have $500,000. I've got to come up with some type of contract for the park board in order for them to move forward. So I either have a contract that we say, and to Kyle's point, they can't, we have to do something realistic that it doesn't deplete their monies, over time. Is money that, the best? And I guess, Jerry, maybe we get the finance committee involved in this and doing that. For me, I could see pledging a certain amount of it, that maybe it's not, or maybe it's forgiven or something, because we can put money, $300,000 a year towards streets, or, I don't think it's an outlandish ask. But I don't want to make the park board that they're so poor that they can't, they can't maintain or anything else. So again, I'm not really necessarily looking for a decision, but I'm going to have to make something before the park board goes out.
Right. I know I certainly am open to all ideas on this. I totally agree with you, Mayor. I'd just like to see some numbers first, see what we're talking about. Now the flip side of all this is that I think, as we all know at this point, interest rates are incredibly low right now. So it's a good time to be having these discussions and looking at different options. So
Did the board have a number in mind for the forgiveness?
250, half of it.
Okay.
So just to give you an idea, and I think Kyle alluded to this, and Amy or Kyle, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I look back at the last couple of years, it looks like the parks had about $20,000 to $50,000 left over of revenue after expenditures. So just to give you an idea of, obviously, I would imagine some of the maintenance costs would dip.
Adding to what Andrew just said, again, we've been down for 2 months, so we've not really spent anything. And once this project starts, let's say it starts hopefully in August, you're looking at that for the next 6 months, 5 to 6 months. We won't be spending any money up there, if that makes sense. So the next budget, we should have even more to pay off any kind of interest loan that we get.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, in the past, when the park board has borrowed money from the city, has that been at a certain interest rate, or was that interest free, or how did that work?
Amy, I think it was interest free because we weren't taxing our own people.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's the right and fair way to do it. I think so. I was just curious.
I think one of the previous ones, like before that one, I think we did charge a small interest rate. I can't remember what rate. I mean, it was a long time ago. It was probably like 18 years ago or something.
But they usually pay it back before it's due.
Right. Right, you know, and I think Mayor, I think you just made that comment. Yeah, it's like a double tax at that point. So I feel like it's, if we're gonna lend money, then yeah, it should be done at a 0% rate, so.
I agree.
So I'll be back. Mr. Dethridge, you think that this is something that your team can
Absolutely.
together? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Andrew, any other questions for Kyle?
I do. I would like to get everybody's input. It's, I guess, obviously the tennis courts are up, the nets are up now, other than the one issue we just discussed. It's my understanding volleyball nets are up. What about basketball courts? Can we open up basketball courts at this point? I know the governor's recommendation is 10 or less for social distancing. I just didn't know how everybody felt about that. I'd kind of like to see them go back up personally.
I have talked to other park directors, Boone, Kenton, and some of the other city ones, and even with the governor. Right now, you're under that competition level thing where it's supposed to be June 29th is when I'm looking, is when competition can start for high contact. Because right now, the June 15th is when baseball can start with workouts and stuff like that. You can start basketball workouts, but no competition, no sweating on each other, no playing against each other, no one-on-one. So we were kind of shooting for June 29th. And I've got some dates here, Mayor, if you want me to, from what the governor just put out through the schools, that we could look at it.
And I'd given direction for Kyle to put them up, to be honest with you, Greg, and Kyle said, hey, I just had a meeting with all the athletic directors, and they gave them, with the governor's office, is that correct, Kyle? And they gave them, they said the school shouldn't put them up yet. Is that?
That is correct. Right now they're saying playgrounds on July 1st. They're saying camp. I look at, again, when I look at like bathrooms, campsites are allowed to have their restrooms open on the 15th, but they're very limited. I've got it also over here. Youth sports, again, June 15th, June 29th for playgrounds, park bathrooms, that's what they call them, public bathrooms, open on June 29th. And that's through Ohio. Kentucky hasn't even come out with those playgrounds and public bathrooms yet, type of stuff. Again.
Yeah, Greg, I don't know what the right answer is. I don't.
I knew one thing, and I'm gonna put it out there. If we're the only ones with goals up throughout Northern Kentucky, that's a bad thing.
That's a good point. Yeah, Kyle, I didn't even think about that. I don't know what other cities are doing.
Irish Road Park will have 40 kids up there.
Right.
My reading of what the governor's office sent out for June 29th was that high contact sports could have, it said like fitness and workouts, but it really didn't say, it didn't really say the actual sport could be played, if I read that correctly.
Right. In the case, say last week on Thursday, the Kentucky High School Athletic Association just came out with their guidelines. The 15th, you can start individually meeting.
Right.
And you can start doing stuff. But on the 29th, you can have competition. I mean, Walton will be playing Beechwood in basketball on July 1st. I'm telling you right now, we'll have a scrimmage. I mean, we'll have scrimmages all through July now, since the dead period is gone. So that's when competitions can start for all football, for anybody. You can have 7-on-7, everything, June 29th.
Yeah, but we are getting questions. That's probably the one thing we've had the most questions about coming in from the website is the basketball courts.
So we have a meeting with the health department on Wednesday. Mr. Polgears, we'll ask again and for an answer. I think the honest answer is we don't have a real answer.
Right. It sounds like we don't have a clear directive. So yeah, I totally understand.
Okay. Anybody else? Kim, you're muted.
I'm sorry. It's still groups of 50 or less. So you still have that control, a little bit. I mean, I know like for some sports, if you're over 50, they're not going to be doing much, but I don't know, if you end up getting that many people up there, that might be the other, consideration.
Is the 50 on July 1st though? That's July 1st, right?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're allowed groups of 50,
correct.
You might want to put them up and just, I don't know, we'll have to watch it. I don't know. Just a thought.
I mean, no offense. I plan on putting them up June 29th, as long as I don't hear different, because that's when competition can start. And as far as I'm concerned,
I would say, yeah, I mean, based on what everybody said tonight, I would say let's plan on 6/29, unless maybe the health department says otherwise. If we get some different information from the health department, then maybe next meeting we can reconsider.
And I think it's good counsel, Kyle, to continue to speak with the rest of the cities. Again, we don't want to go June 29th and be the only one there.
I agree. I hate to say that, but man, that will be a total nightmare. I'm just telling you.
It would be
I would
Everybody
agree with
agreement.
that too. So.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we put those tennis nets up. I don't know if you guys have been over there with that. My Lord, man. You got 4 or 5 deep people waiting to get on those.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I appreciate the input.
No
I
problem.
think Joe, putting you on the spot now that you're part of this is that we need to communicate. And as soon as we get some dates and be getting on, have that on social media and almost like a calendar that shows, how the state does it. Maybe it's our opening dates for Fort Mitchell and we really start sharing that.
Sounds good.
Communicate.
Hey, Joe, if you could send me an email and just give me your information, I'll send you what I've got right now.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
Sure, no problem.
Any other questions for Kyle? I know Chief Sherberg hasn't finished yet, so. All right.
Hey, this has been riveting, but do you guys need me for anything else?
We do.
Ah, dang. Okay.
No, you can go. Thanks, Kyle.
See you, Kyle.
Thanks, guys. You have a good one.
I do not have anything else, Mayor, on the admin side.
The only other thing that we haven't talked about is pools, so, we have Beechwood Swim Club and the Country Club, and then we have 2 HOA pools. The big thing is that the way I read it is the governor's going to have, office is going to have some other parameters for us, and that it made it sound like the city is going to be able to review that and open that. So I've reached out to Fort Mitchell Country Club. Andrew, have you had any luck at the Beechwood Swim Club?
I have not yet. Hopefully.
I have
I
contact
will
information for somebody, Andrew, if that helps.
Okay. I'll reach out to you tomorrow then. Thanks.
For Fort Mitchell Place, they've told us that we have to have someone there every 2 to 3 hours to clean things, and people have to get out of the pool. They're very unsure about what is actually happening.
Yeah, and the guidance.
They haven't gotten the final list of all the parameters.
And I don't think they've really listed. Yeah, I don't think the governor's office has come out with details on that. They still haven't come out with details on bars, other than to say when bars can reopen. So there's definitely, the guidance seems to be coming out not too long before the actual dates at this point. So we are keeping an eye out for it.
Any questions for Andrew?
I have one more question. Just curious, I'd seen a couple of people ask about this on Facebook. The water fountains along Dixie Highway, I'm assuming those aren't going to open anytime soon, but what about the one for the dogs?
That's the other question that we've had a couple times come in on the website. We can't turn them, they're not independent. So if you turn on the dog one, it turns on the whole thing.
Gotcha.
There's really, I'll tell you this, there's really not a lot of guidance I can find out there. The best guidance, and we can bring it up, I'll list that up for the health department this week. The only guidance I did find was it was a news article online where they interviewed a scientist who basically said because of the close proximity of your face to the water fountain that it's seems like a bad idea at this time, basically. So we'll pose the question to Dr. Sadler this week, see what they.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe a good plumber, could just isolate a valve on that. I mean, because if it's going to be long-term, over the next, I don't see this change. This is me, I don't see this changing, throughout the summer and into the winter that we have that restriction on the water fountain. If we could isolate that with a valve and not turn on both, so we might as well look into that.
Sure, that's manageable to do that.
I do too. Let's look into that, at least get the doggies fed.
Will do.
All right, anything else for Andrew? Comments
That's all I have on the admin side.
Huh?
So that's all I have on the admin side.
Exactly. We'll see you again. Comments from council?
I have 2 things. Can someone contact, I guess it's Joe now, Duke Energy, which has property on Beechwood and Anderson, Crescent Springs, Bromley Road. Their grass is, I'd say at least 6 feet high.
We
Yeah.
can reach out
And
for
I
the-
know that Charlie had a phone number to call them when this would happen.
Okay. We'll get in touch with them.
We can just. call
Okay, that's
them.
number one. Now, Greg, I think the question is for you. I don't believe this. We were told that no permits have been issued for working on pools in Northern Kentucky since like February, and I don't think that's true, is it? Don't you still issue permits? The
Are
planning
you,
department?
are you speaking from PDS?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I mean, PDS has been open for business as far as, they've been working remotely, but they are absolutely available to issue permits. So,
Well, that's what I told someone, and they said, "Oh, no, everything is closed." And I thought, okay,
No.
I'm gonna go to the source and ask.
no,
Thank you.
that's not true. Now, they really have been up until today, they've been very limited as far as their office hours, but they are working remotely. They do, it's my understanding, I believe they have a permit process through their website even. So yeah, they are absolutely
Well-
issuing permits.
Well, and we get a list of permits, and I said
Right.
that, but no one, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Those are my
no
only
worries.
two
Yep,
questions.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other comments from council? All right. Department heads report. Chief Fuller, you want to go first?
Sure. We did start the process of doing the annual report for the month of May today. So for May, there's 163 total calls. To compare that to last year, May was 162 calls. So year to date, we're at 683 total calls. Last year on May 31st, we were at 756. So I think that a lot of that decrease was in the last part of March and then the month of April. But our call volume has definitely bounced back up to what is normal for this time of year. That is a pretty consistent thing over the last 4 weeks. The only other thing we really have is we did, and at the last council meeting, we did have some changes to the SAFER grant on the federal government side. We had done the recruitment and retention grant. They turned around and then said we could actually do a staffing grant with 0 cost share for 3 years. So working with Andrew on that, we did go ahead and, with the mayor's blessing, go ahead and actually put in for 4 full-time firefighter. We just run as firefighter EMS positions. We can go either way, firefighter EMT or firefighter medic, if we get those funded. So that is a very big change that occurred in the 11th hour of the grant process to change that to a $0 cost share. So we did take advantage of that and make that application.
Adam, one of those, and Scott, you went through this a lot, is sometimes you have to retain these people for a certain amount of period after it ends, so that there's a true cost afterwards, and that's not the case on this, is it?
That is correct. It's 3 years with 100% funding and no commitment to maintain.
So I just want to make sure council realize that. Any questions for Chief Fuller? All right, Matt, you have anything?
Yes, Mayor, just we have a new employee, summer part-time help. His name is Carter Black. His family is mom's family, at least. They're Fort Mitchell, the Eplin family. I'm sure some of you know some Eplins, even if you're not on the park board. But Carter's going to help us for the months of June and July. And if he's able to go back to football practice August 1st, I assume he'll be gone then. But anyways, over the summer. Let's see, the projects that we have going on, the driveway project out front of the city building, the sidewalks, that we plan for that to be complete next week, weather permitting. They maybe even this week, but I'm not overly optimistic about it being complete this week. That'll be soon. Ridge and West Orchard, they started the water line on Ridge Road, and they're more than half of that installed. And the storm sewer, they started working on that last week on West Orchard. They did run into a bit of a snag where they were going to tie in the new storm sewer near Dixie Highway. There's a large gas main that runs along Dixie Highway that the depth of that was deeper than what they had accounted for. So we can't get below the gas main. We have to raise storm sewer above it. We're figuring out the ramifications for that. So it's been a pause there in the work on West Orchard due to that utility conflict. Orphanage Road, they've been out topsoil, seed, and straw, and putting down some erosion control blankets there to hold the topsoil in place. And they've got almost all of it done. They were hoping to finish that today, but they'll finish it up tomorrow. And hopefully that will be all that we see work-wise there. I'd love to have all that project done. Highland Avenue, they've started with the storm sewer back near Longmeadow, and they will be continuing with the storm sewer for the next week or two before they move on to doing the concrete work, curb and gutter, sidewalk work towards the front of of Highland and Anthony and Oak. The next couple of projects that we have, we're ready to bid out the spot concrete repairs for, we had DeVille, Grace, parts of Cookbook, and what am I forgetting? Got it written down here. Anna Joe. Anyway, those 4 streets, we're about ready to bid that out for work to start after the new fiscal year starts. It'll either be July or August there. And also there was some work on Watch Hill Road. If any of you got a call about that, SD1 was out there. It was an emergency repair to a lateral. So they were doing some digging out there. If you had any calls about that today. But that's all I have.
Any questions for Mr. Stagman?
Matt, I have a question. The crosswalks, and I don't know if it's you, Crescent Springs or Kenton County, the crosswalks at the intersection of Beechwood and Anderson Road are need to be painted, and I don't know which of the 3 people are involved in that.
Okay, I don't know either, but I don't think it's us. You're talking about where the flashing light is, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I will check with Kenton County and Crescent Springs. I'm not positive who's responsible for
I
that.
have a feeling it's Kenton County, but I'm not sure.
I'll check into it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Matt? All right, Andrew, Chief Sherberg.
Couple of quick updates. Little Flower Bakery was broken into over the weekend. Sounds like we have some video from a couple of different angles on that. So I'm hopeful that we have some leads on it pretty quickly. So I'll keep you all updated. So about a month or so ago, someone attempted to break into Greyhound. And then a couple weeks ago, someone broke into the Trek store in Fort Wright. So commercial burglaries are fairly rare in our area. So we don't, not sure if there's a pattern amongst these, but we're working with Fort Wright to get sharing info on ours and them share on the one at Trek. So we are working on that. Over the weekend, we did send one officer, our K9, to Newport to assist with possible unrest. Down there, they put out a call for K9 officers. We thought we were prepared to also have to go down to Covington at some point. We all have mutual aid agreements. That didn't happen. However, we're getting some intelligence tonight on some other incidents that may be popping up this week. So we're trying to stay on top of it. We have for a while been wanting to buy helmets for our officers. The original intent was for active shooter type situations to provide some, Kevlar bullet resistant protection to people's heads. That's an important part of your body. We've now, we're going to purchase them with a face shield to them as well, so they can double as something that we need in crowd control. It's, unfortunately, the strange thing in police work is there's a lot of things that you end up having to purchase that you really hope you never use. But when you need them, you really need them. We did find out in the meantime, I just found out today that we can possibly borrow things from the jail. So I'm going to be reaching out tomorrow to see about that, so that maybe we can borrow a couple sets of things in case things do flare up on this side of the river. The last little update I have is I just wanted to give you an update on our 2 hybrid police cars. So we've had those on the road for about a month now, and we're seeing about 40 to 50% increase in fuel economy with those over the other ones. So
Wonderful.
I think even with fuel prices being lower right now, that the little bit of a premium you pay to get the hybrid over the regular is going to pay off in the long run. So just to give you an idea what that number means, we go from anywhere from about 7 to, let's say, 7 to 9 miles per gallon even on our Chargers, but on our Tahoes or other Fords. So we're seeing between 15 and 18 on the hybrids. That's all I have.
Any questions for Chief Sherberg? All right, so before I ask Mr. Polgears to take us in executive session, I know at least one person watching this, and his birthday is on Friday, and I just want to say to the Godfather of Fort Mitchell, happy birthday, Bill Getz. He'll turn 80 years old.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Bill.
So he watches this every week. So I just wanted to make sure that he did that. So,
is Greg going to sing us into the executive session?
Well, hold on, I forgot Amy. Amy's way over here. To my
I don't
left.
think anybody wants that, Jerry.
I know. Greg, before you do that, I just looked up, Amy, do you have anything? You've been taking care of all this budget and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what I've been doing is doing budget, but we are accepting visitors into the city building. So we'll put that out on Facebook. I think the only thing that we're not doing is fingerprints. Is that correct?
So we are doing fingerprints only on a limited basis. We switched our fingerprints to only city residents a year or so ago. And right now we're only doing it for anyone who's trying to get into the medical field.
No realtors?
No realtors right now.
Kidding,
So,
sorry.
and hopefully we'll get a lot of money.
Andrew,
Yes.
Andrew, we want to thank you for being the city administrator, as short as it was. You did a good job.
But he's still.
He still is.
Joe took Janie's spot, not
Oh,
Sean.
okay, so now he's recreation.
Right. He's recreation and communication.
Oh, okay.
Joe, you got a raise.
A promotion.
You got a promotion day one.
Wow, less than 24 hours. That's awesome.
I did not realize that, sorry.
That's all right. So yeah,
I'm
to answer,
looking at a green screen.
yeah. Well, Mary, I probably won't start looking for Charmelee's replacement here probably until sometime mid-July. We'll start. I'll put a committee together and do that, but we'll get through budget and stuff first. Any other questions for Amy?
No.
All right, Mr. Polgears.
All right, motion needed for executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810, subsection 1, subsection C, for discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of a public agency.
Mr. Polgears, you make that motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Second, Ms. Knockhazel, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so we're going to be going into an executive session. Jason,
All right,
you're there, and Chief, you're going to take us off the YouTube.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we're for the people, anyone watching on YouTube, we are not going back to a broadcast after the executives.